For those of you that are new to the channel, this is my 2003 Toyota Tacoma. It is a TRD off-road model, which means it comes with a factory rear differential locker, and is a double cab. It has the legendary 3.4 liter 5EZ FE iron block V6 engine. This has been my daily driver for the past 6+ years, and I plan to drive it for forever. It has about 170,000 miles and has never given us any issues whatsoever. So that is a little background about my Tacoma. So now onto the part of what actual lift I went for the truck. I went with the ARB Old Man Emu 2881 front springs, the Icon Vehicle Dynamics Progressive Add-A-Leaf, and Bilstein 5100 shocks all around. So I did a ton of research to get to this exact setup I have. Through my research, I quickly realized there was a really cheap way to do a lift, and there was a really good way to do a lift on a budget, and that it was actually going to improve the off-road performance of the Tacoma. If you guys are anything like me, I like to think long-term and value my money, so of course I wanted to do it right. I did a ton of research and read countless threads on Tacoma World, and by doing so, I came to the conclusion that there is 3 main ways to lift the front of the Tacoma. The first way is using a spacer that sits on top of the spring assembly. The second way is to replace the shock and spring with longer springs and shocks. And the third way is to use performance coilovers, like from Icon, Fox, or Kings. I found that the most cost-effective way to lift the truck would be to purchase Old Man Emu lift springs and pairing them up with the Bilstein 5100s. That way, I wasn't compromising the ride with the spacer, and I wasn't hurting my wallet with the performance coilovers. I went with Bilstein and OME because they are a very reputable shock and spring, and are also very well known in the Toyota off-road community. Although ARB does make their own shocks, called the Nitro Chargers, the reason why I didn't go with them was because I found a lot of people on the forums were able to pair the Old Man Emu springs with the 5100s for slightly cheaper and still get good performance. As far as the rear lift, there is also 3 options you can go with when deciding to lift the truck. The first is using a block, the second is using an add-a-leaf, and the third is replacing the whole leaf pack. I went with the add-a-leaf option because I didn't want to increase my odds of warping my axle with the block, and I was keeping a budget in mind. An important thing to note is that I went with a progressive add-a-leaf. There are 2 types of add-a-leaf, a single thick add-a-leaf and an add-a-leaf that consists of 3 smaller leaves, which is the option I went with. From my research, the progressive add-a-leaf rides a lot more smoother and less like a dump truck than compared to a single thick add-a-leaf. The progressive add-a-leaf does cost a little more than the single add-a-leaf, but it is definitely worth the money in my opinion. I also actually went ahead and changed the lower ball joints on the truck because I know that these are a weak spot for these trucks once they are lifted. So in my opinion, this is the best cost-effective way to lift your Tacoma the right way. All the parts in total cost just under $800. As far as how much lift I actually got, I got about 2.5 inch of lift in the front and 2.6 inch of lift in the rear with the overload spring installed. And because I was able to stay under that 3 inch of lift, I got away with replacing the upper control arms. It has about 1 inch of rake, which is good because I'm planning to add more mods and weight to the bed of the truck, which I will go into more detail later in this video. If you guys are curious about my exact measurements, I am actually going to put those numbers down in the description below. I'm going to include the before and after ground to fender measurements, as well as the hub to fender measurements. And to give you something to reference how tall the truck is actually sitting now, here's a picture of my Tacoma next to my friend's 2nd gen 2015 Tacoma with a similar lift, but with 285/70/17 tires. My truck is currently sitting on the 265/70/16 tires. I believe once I get bigger tires, I should sit just as high. Now on to driving impressions. So I have actually had the lift on the Tacoma for about 3 weeks now, so I have a pretty good understanding of how it rides. And let me tell you, it drives great. There's a lot less body roll, the steering feels a lot tighter, and overall, the truck feels more controlled and less bouncy when going over rough terrain. One really important thing I forgot to mention actually early on is to make sure you adjust the Bilstein shocks to the lowest clip setting, so that way the lift comes from the springs. If you adjust it any higher, you are preloading the lift springs, which is defeating the purpose of them and will make the truck ride stiffer. One thing to keep in mind is that I am actually running the stock tire size, but I do plan on upgrading soon, which I will go into more detail later. But these driving impressions may change once I get bigger tires, but we shall see. So as far as the future plans for the truck, it obviously is in need of a paint job. It's a pretty common problem for these trucks for the clear coat to fail. So that is one thing I'm definitely going to be doing in the future. Of course, I'm in the market for new wheels and tires. I plan to buy some 33s, 285/70/17 all-terrain tires. I'm thinking about going with the Falcon AT3Ws, Toyo AT3s, Nitto Terra Grappler G2s, Nitto Ridge Grapplers, or the ever so popular BFG KO2s. But let me know down in the comments below what tire I should go with. And as far as the wheels are concerned, I'm hopefully working with a company soon in the near future, but we will wait and see if this actually pans out. So you're going to have to wait to see that in a future video, hopefully. I'm also want to get a roof rack, a bed rack, and a tailgate pad for our mountain bikes. And I think that's all about I have planned for now. And obviously, of course, when I do these mods, I will be documenting it. So if you guys are interested in following my build, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Hopefully this video helps some of you out there that are thinking about lifting your Tacoma and you get some useful information from it. As always, thank you for watching the video. It's been Morla Productions and we're out. Peace.